Well, hello everybody. This is friendly neighborhood Cubeman doing something new. It's a live stream here on YouTube. I honestly don't know what I'm doing here, but that's part of the fun. Using a document camera that I have to show the paper that I'm working on, and the same microphone that I use for recording my old videos. Though we don't have the benefit of editing today. And even more fun, I have no idea what I'm drawing right now. Here we have a piece of sketch paper that's obviously dirty from a lot of work that was done in this apartment over the past year. I decided to keep it because we're experimenting here and it might add a little surreal edge to it. And you know how much I love that. So first thing we're going to do is sharpen the pencil. Yeah, that looks good enough. And now we are going to try to draw something. What'll it be? And I see that my hand is too much in shadow here. So let's try to reposition the light a bit. This is a bit hard, of course. You can see the first line. That's good. Perhaps it will be a bird-like critter. I like birds for some reason. Yeah, that kind of looks like a beak. And here we have a tongue, or something tongue-ish. Yeah, we'll work on that a little. And yeah, when you hear me pause or get a little bit louder, it means that I'm turning my head towards the computer so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, now let's get a little bit more funky here. Give him a few eyes on one side of his head, or its head rather. We don't know what gender this critter has. Okay, make yeah, some waviness. I like waviness. Now, one of the fans of this channel actually asked me once why I like tentacles so much. I did a very glib answer that it was a Lovecraft thing, but that doesn't summarize it up as much. Honestly, they're very easy and fun to draw for me. Notice how they get progressively thicker the more you go to the base. You know, if anybody was watching, I would expect to see a "that's what she said" right now in the comments. Wish there was a way to share this. I think there is. Hang on. Don't mind me here. You can see that this is a live hand. A little shadow play there. Okay, now we will just add some people. Just gonna see if I can add anyone else. And yeah, okay, one more attempt. Bear with me here. Okay, now we can continue. Again, see legit hands here. Now, what I'm gonna add now is something completely out of the ordinary. I have no idea what appendages to have underneath to make this critter less bird-like in its own way. Got some talents. Okay, I texted one person to tell her I was online. Now let's get back to this. Give it an unnaturally bent leg. But instead of giving it the talons, let's make it look almost like a human foot, although weirdly distended. One thing, like I noticed that these kinds of erasers that were available at the dollar store don't work as well as they could. In fact, they melt too easily because it's basically some sort of enamel, if you will, with suspended in plastic. There we go. But these by Pentel, without any phthalates in it. Sorry for hitting the mic like that. I'm human. Do clean erasing without leaving marks, without leaving residue, I find. And also they make lesser crumbs. I don't know how else to say it. But now that we've got the basic sketch here, let's try to do the fun with the inking. I'm gonna stick for now with my favorite new technique, which is to use progressively thicker markers when while working inwards from the sketch lines. So these are Prismacolor Premier type. Obviously, like I'm not getting paid to endorse this or anything like that. But they're very good for this purpose. So here we go. The thickest one is is the 0.8. And a good trick always that I very frequently forget, by the way, is to start from the very top and work my way down. Otherwise, my hand runs the risk of smearing the ink. So I'm going to just add these very thick hash lines. If you hear any background sound, that's my heat pump because it's cold in Montreal right now, 8 degrees centigrade. Or like in the low 50s in American heating units. Fahrenheit, whatever the hell you want to call it. See, now the reason why I started doing this, or wanted to do a live stream, is because I was granted access to advanced YouTube features. And however, for a variety of reasons, some of them work-related, some of them personal, I haven't been able to do much drawing over the past couple of years. And not post a single video to YouTube since then, which is a crying shame. I got the email from YouTube saying that I'm going to lose my advanced features if I don't start posting, particularly using the advanced features, which includes live streaming. So I tried to do it the other day, and I discovered the hard way that YouTube doesn't let you live stream for 24 hours after your first attempt at live streaming. This is a safety measure put in place to prevent people from doing some unspeakably awful things on camera and on live stream. I think that's a good thing. A little bit of a pain, but I'm not complaining about it too much. You can see I'm just using short hatches moving inwards from the original sketch lines. If you've watched previous Cubeman videos, you'll know exactly why I like doing this. If not, welcome to the fun. And yeah, I'm trying not to take into account the fact that I look back and see nobody is joining the live stream. That's okay. People will be able to watch the recording afterwards. And I just realized that I'm getting a little bit too low, so let's do the top part first while we still can. I will consider myself to be successful as a live streamer. The first time somebody comments, that's what she said. I'm going to do the tongue a little bit differently. Rather than go inwards from the sketch lines, I'm going to follow them, because this creates a contrast that suggests a different body part. See that? I'll also do the eyes here while we still can. While it's still possible to do so, rather, without smearing the ink. There we go. Now we move from here. Now, the whole theory behind me drawing like this is because I cannot draw a straight line to save my life. This is an unfortunate problem. Never had the hand-eye coordination for that. So rather than give up on drawing or just draw badly, I decided to simply leverage my inability to draw a straight line and make it part of my artistic style. Some of y'all know that I'm a heavy metal fan. One of my favorite artists is the Canadian singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, composer, and all-around cool dude, Devin Townsend. And he recently put out an album and a song called Power Nerd. Time for life and rock and roll. And the song is all about turning your handicaps, or your disadvantages rather, into an advantage. That's what I mean when I say I take my inability to draw a straight line and I leverage it into creating a style that only an inept artist, pseudo-artist such as myself, can handle. Notice that I don't always strictly follow the sketch lines. It's a Bob Ross thing. There are no mistakes, only happy accidents. You can see that my hand is touching areas that are penciled, but the pencil is remarkably holding. But the important thing is my hand is not touching inked areas. This is by design. It is so the ink does not smear. It's a useful habit to get into because these alcohol-based markers are not especially smearish. Is that a word even? But what they are. But what if I was using a fountain pen or an old school dipping pen? I have both. Also got a bamboo pen for that matter. If I was, then smearing would definitely be a concern. Okay, so here we have a completed inked sketch. Let's add a bit of, some internal lines. Feel free to use the chat box to comment. We go inside the appendage. Why not? Actually, we'll leave this part of the neck and head alone. We'll just do these for now. And again, top down. Now, the camera being used for this is not my phone nor my iPad, by the way. Rather, it is an InSwan, again, not a product endorsement, document scanner or document camera, which is basically a very, very hyped up webcam. They were designed partly to scan books without damaging the binding, but also designed for teachers who want to show their lessons by live stream. I could use this to do some cooking videos if I wanted, but this is an art channel. The microphone itself is a Snowball Yeti. I don't have the wherewithal to use a real audio interface plugged in with a real studio microphone, but it does bear mentioning that the Yeti has the same type of capsule as a Shure SM57, which is simply a skinnier version of the Shure SM58. Even if you're not familiar with microphones, you know what a Shure SM58 is, because every singer you've ever seen in a music video or in a TV live broadcast uses one. It's the Honda Civic of microphones. The President of the United States, since the Eisenhower administration, has been using Shure SM57 microphones in the White House press room. So these are the initial 0.08 strands emanating from the original HB lead pencil lines. We're going to take a second here just to let the last of the ink dry out before we do other stuff, and so I can actually face the microphone and give you narration with a good sound level. Okay, and I see EJB905 has joined. I'm not going to say my relation to this person because I do not want people to harass him online for any of his comments, but he knows that I know exactly who he is. This is cool. First person to join a Cubeman livecast. Hi, how you doing? Okay, now we'll take our good old Pentel eraser, erasing the original line so there'll be no trace of the original pencil sketch. Here we go. Ideally, you make very light pencil lines so that you don't have to rub in the eraser too hard and thus fade the ink lines too much. That's what this particular eraser was advertised as being able to do. I can see right now that we're getting not the best results there. And it is, though it is a little bit less crumbly, I'll give it that credit. Now, we have a very scientific way of getting rid of the rubber crumbly bits from this drawing. Watch this. That is compressed carbon dioxide coming straight out of my lungs, everybody. And now, the 0.5 marker. Next level inwards. Let's do these weird surreal eye things first. And now we can start with the beak. Fill in the areas that were not covered originally. And you can see that we're adding, that this does make up for the fact that the original drawing, the original black lines rather, were faded, if not totally smeared. Let's just add a few more tongue lines here too. Yeah, I know that sounds gross. And now we add this down here to extend the original sketch lines inward with something a wee bit thinner. Now, for those of you who were following Cubeman on Instagram up to July of 2025, you might be wondering where that page went. That page was deliberately tied. Okay, EJB has said that 8 degrees Celsius, like we have in Montreal, is 47 degrees Fahrenheit. So yeah, that's a very good day to be indoors, folks. Now it's Sunday. A lot of you are probably watching football. I appreciate you watching me if you're not watching football. And anyway, back to what happened to the Instagram account. Basically, my Instagram account was tied to my Facebook account. Not only the Cubeman Webcomic Facebook account, but also the Cubeman under my own name. I was visiting family in Toronto at the time that it happened. Not a planned trip. Won't go into the details of that. But on one day I was working at my day job, and yeah, you better believe a guy whose artistic skills are like this absolutely has a day job. I was in the office in Toronto, and I decided to take a break from working at the cubicle to update myself on Facebook. And I saw that my account had been suspended pending an investigation, and that the suspension would be permanent if I did not appeal. So I immediately filed an appeal. This was tied to reports made about posts made on either the personal Facebook account or the Cubeman one. I have a good idea what the motive of somebody reporting me was. Not going to get into that here. I didn't do anything illegal. But within 48 hours, the appeal of my suspension was completed, and the suspension and rejected, with the suspension from Facebook made permanent. This is somewhat unfortunate. I had to make a claim with the Federal Privacy Commissioner in Ottawa for Meta to give back all the data that I uploaded to them over the years. Under Canadian law, you're allowed to make this request, and companies, for the most part, have to abide by them. I went so far as to send a letter giving notice of this to Meta's head office. When I say letter, I really do mean on paper. In all likelihood, it was still processed automatically, but at least it gave Meta Platforms notice that the complaint with the Canada Privacy Commission is under effect at this time. Let's move down rather than up. So that's why there's no more Cubeman on Instagram. Now, there's likely going to be a way that I can reestablish it, even if the account never comes back. And I'm looking into other ways to go public with Cubeman content moving forward. Livestream is cool. And I might look into ways that I can live stream to both YouTube and Instagram at the same time, because there are far more people interested in art on Instagram, especially art like this, than there are on YouTube. Right now, this is just an experiment. Like this completely messed up image. Yeah, I'm not Adam Buckley. I don't live in London, Ontario, so I'm trying very hard not to swear here. There you go. You can see I moved inwards from both the holes and the... oh, missed this hole. Yep, that's what she said. And also inward from the rest of it. Now, because this area is too dense, I'm not going to move outward. I'm not going to move outward from these either. Actually, let's move outward from these holes. You can see the thinner lines are adding a little bit to the texture here. Now, definitely, I think it would help if I put a light behind me. I've got a light to my left. I've got a very faint light to my right. I've got a light ahead of me. I think a light behind me would smooth out the shadows so you can see everything that I'm doing all at once. I'll try that for the next one. I'm also going to try the other end of the table, frankly. I'm got my back to the window and I can see... yeah, it's 6:25 p.m. Eastern Time, and already here in Montreal, Canada, it's pitch black outside, and it isn't helping that I've got my curtains open. Oh, well. Okay, this one is 0.3 inches. I guess it looks a little bit blurry. Trust me on this. All right. These are the thinnest lines rather that we can add to the remainder of the beak. But let's just make the tongue flare out a little bit more. And now let's move inward from this guy's head. Starting to think he looks a bit more like a sponge than a bird, or maybe like a sponge with a beak. Sponge bird. Weird and kind of foul, I guess. Okay, just a little bit lightly in there. Extend it outwards. Sorry, my voice isn't quite as soothing as the voice of some other great YouTubers like Mr. Buckley or Adrian. I'm going to celebrate after this drawing by doing some yoga. Discovered how good that is for my back. EJB says that it is also 8 degrees Celsius in the beautiful southern Ontario city where he lives. I won't name the city because I respect his privacy. If he wants to write it, he can. But the 905 in his username should tell you everything you need to know about roughly where that city is. Yes, that part of Canada that all the major political parties really, really flock to when it comes to political campaigning, because it's a vote-rich area with a lot of middle-class people and very multicultural. And EJB did say that he is not watching football. For anybody tuning in here internationally, please note that when I say football, I mean gridiron football, also known as American football, and sometimes as Canadian football, because, hey, we've got a bigger field. And all of the players who couldn't get into the NFL. And we would distinguish that from what the rest of the world calls football, what some call association football, and what my friends in the UK consider incredibly funny when I call association football, even though calling it association football, or ASOC, made it become soccer. That's literally the origin of the word. So even though people in the UK don't like it being called association football, or don't like it when Americans and Canadians call gridiron football that, we still, the fact is that the word soccer is in fact British in origin. Who knew? can see I doubled up on all of that with the 0.3 ink. We'll now take out the 0.1, the second thinnest that we got. Also, maybe some of you can see here on this right thumb a little bit of a bobo injury here. Another reason why I haven't drawn in a while. This thumb was seriously injured for a very long time. It was a stupid cooking injury. I was cutting up some potatoes and I missed the potato. Or as one of the dudes at the gym I go to said, so you're now you're the potato. I guess I am. Starchy Cubeman at your service. You can see very thin lines moving in, filling in a few white spaces, sorry. Again, giving the feeling of texture and ridges and depth. So here we've got a critter with a head, sort of like a duck or a goose, a beak, more like a wading bird of some kind, and a body like a starfish or a sea sponge. And holes in it. One foot sort of like a deformed human foot. And one foot more like a passerine perching type bird. See how that's working? Now, this is the 0.05, the very thin, hairline thin marker. We will flame out the tongue a bit more. Oh yes, I gave him a flame tongue. So this is a cross between a dragon and amoeba, or as my mom would say, a neuron. A waterfowl, a passerine bird, a human, and God knows what else. I'm just having a whole lot of fun here doing the most surrealistic image I can possibly make. Because that's honestly what Cubeman is all about. See, moving between all of the dark areas through a few light areas just to make a few of these hairline strokes. Adds immense level of detail to the texture. Not the best with colors. I'm not the best with lines. But if there's one thing I know how to make, it is a texture. Now there we have it. Now, if any of these areas seem a little bit too dense, a little bit too dark, I've got here a white 1.5 inch artist bullet nib. Let's see what happens when we add a few dots here. Okay, just to add a bit more brightness to the eyes there. See that? Maybe just a bit here to give the tongue a bit more definition, because we like a good tongue. Yeah, I know, she said that too. See what the little dots here do? You can see they're also very useful for correcting mistakes. Like this line goes a little bit too far out, so I can just write it over. It's like liquid paper or whiteout. And if you're old enough to know what that is, then you probably know my age. Okay. Last but not least, we will take the good old Sharpie out and just sign it. AKB. I know that looks more like AM8, but whatever. 2025. Underline, ... And there it is, an official Cubeman drawing made live stream right here on YouTube. Thank you, EJB905, who did reveal that he lives in downtown Hamilton, Steel City of Southern Ontario, really central Ontario, whatever. And thank you for viewing this after the fact if you didn't join, and I look forward to doing much better live streams moving forward. All for now.